So, get this. Picture a cavernous military auditorium, filled to the brim with the nation's most powerful and decorated leaders, generals, admirals, and senior officers, all summoned at a moment's notice. The air was thick with anticipation, and a sense of unease rippled through the crowd as they waited for what was promised to be a routine briefing. The new Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, strode confidently to the podium, his presence commanding the room. This was his first major address since taking office, and expectations were sky-high. The nation's top brass had gathered, expecting updates on global threats, new strategies, or perhaps a shift in military priorities. But what unfolded was anything but ordinary. Instead of the usual talk of foreign adversaries or defense budgets, Hegseth launched into a fiery, impassioned speech. It felt less like a Pentagon briefing and more like a rallying cry in the midst of a culture war. His words echoed off the walls, charged with emotion and conviction. He didn't mince words. Hegseth declared that the real enemy wasn't lurking overseas or plotting in distant capitals. No, he insisted, the true threat was internal. A military culture that in his view had become soft, distracted, and dangerously complacent. He accused the institution of losing its edge, its discipline, and its sense of purpose. With a dramatic pause, Hegseth promised nothing short of a radical reset. He vowed to strip away what he called failed policies, bureaucratic red tape, and distractions that, he claimed, had weakened the armed forces. His vision was to return to what he described as a golden age of strength, unity, and uncompromising discipline. A time when, in his words, the military knew exactly what it stood for. The officers in attendance, many of whom had dedicated their entire lives to service, were caught off guard. They had come prepared for serious policy discussions, not a sweeping condemnation of their own culture. Shock, confusion, and even a hint of indignation flickered across their faces as they exchanged uneasy glances. Hegseth's delivery was nothing if not passionate. At times, his voice wavered, betraying the weight of his message. He gestured emphatically, driving home his points, and even took a moment to reference and promote his own recently published book, holding it aloft as a manifesto for the changes he intended to make. The message was unmistakable. From this moment forward, the Department of Defense would be guided not just by military strategy, but by a new, hardline ideology. Hegseth made it clear that he saw this as a battle for the soul of the armed forces, a fight to restore what he believed had been lost. The atmosphere in the auditorium grew tense. This was no routine update or policy tweak. It was, in every sense, a declaration of war, not against a foreign power, but against the very culture and traditions that had defined the military for generations. As Hegseth concluded, a heavy silence settled over the hall. The stunned expressions, the lack of applause, and the quiet shuffling of feet spoke volumes. In that moment, everyone present understood. The rules had changed overnight, and nothing would ever be quite the same. As the officers filed out, their footsteps echoing in the empty corridors, a sense of uncertainty hung in the air. The journey into uncharted territory had just begun, and no one could predict where it would lead, or what the cost might be. At the heart of Hegseth's vision for the future of the armed forces lies a bold and controversial idea, a full-scale revival of what he calls warrior culture. This isn't just about military tradition or nostalgia, it's a call to fundamentally reshape the identity and priorities of the U.S. military. Hegseth wants the military to be laser-focused on toughness, discipline, and relentless combat readiness. In his view, there's no room for distractions or anything that might dilute the fighting spirit. Every aspect of military life, from daily routines to long-term strategy, should reinforce the idea that soldiers are, first and foremost, warriors. This vision means implementing stricter grooming standards, enforcing tougher height and weight requirements, and maintaining a zero-tolerance policy for anyone who doesn't fit the traditional mold. The message is clear. Only those who embody the physical and mental attributes of a classic warrior have a place in the ranks. Hegseth believes that a sharp appearance is more than just a matter of pride. It's a reflection of a sharp, disciplined force. The way a soldier looks, he argues, directly correlates with their readiness and effectiveness on the battlefield. This old-school, back-to-basics approach is designed to harden the ranks, both physically and mentally. Grueling physical training, strict discipline, and a relentless focus on combat skills are seen as essential to forging a force that can withstand the pressures of modern warfare. However, critics of this approach argue that such a narrow definition of what it means to be a warrior ignores the complexity and evolving nature of today's conflicts. Modern warfare is no longer fought solely on the front lines, it's waged in cyberspace, through intelligence, and with advanced technology. Today's military needs more than just frontline fighters. It requires cyber experts who can defend against digital threats, engineers who can maintain and innovate technology, and strategists who can outthink adversaries. The battlefield has expanded, and so must the definition of a warrior. By prioritizing a single archetype, the traditional warrior, the military risks losing the diverse skills and perspectives it desperately needs. The strength of the modern force lies in its diversity, adaptability, and ability to integrate a wide range of talents. The new mantra is simple but uncompromising: look and act like a warrior, or you're out. This hardline stance is meant to instill pride and unity, but it also raises questions about who gets left behind. It's a powerful idea, one that resonates with tradition and the desire for a strong, capable force, but it's also an idea that could have serious unintended consequences, potentially sidelining those who don't fit the mold, but bring invaluable skills to the table. The force may indeed become tougher, more disciplined, and more unified in appearance, but the critical question remains: will it also become smarter, more innovative, and better equipped for the challenges of the future? The debate over what truly makes a warrior, and what kind of military America needs in the 21st century, is just beginning. As the armed forces grapple with these questions, the answers will shape not only the military's culture, but its effectiveness for years to come. At the heart of Hegseth's vision for the future of the armed forces is a dramatic and uncompromising purge of what he and his supporters call woke policies. These are the initiatives and programs that, over the past decade, have aimed to make the military more reflective of the nation's diversity and more inclusive of all backgrounds. But in Hegseth's plan, these efforts are not just sidelined, they're actively dismantled with a sense of urgency and finality. Diversity, equity, and inclusion offices? Gone. Immediately. The very departments that once championed representation and fairness are now being shuttered, their signs removed, their missions abruptly ended. The message is clear: the new order has no room for these priorities. Hegseth and his allies argue that these programs, far from uniting the force, have sown division and distracted from the military's core mission: readiness and victory on the battlefield. They claim that focusing on identity and background undermines the unity and discipline that are essential for success in combat. In their ideal military, the only thing that matters is your ability to fight, to follow orders, and to serve with honor. Your background, your identity, your personal story, all of that, they say, should be irrelevant. The focus is on forging a single, unified force, where every soldier is judged solely on merit and performance. This marks a sharp and unmistakable break from years, if not decades, of efforts to make the military more inclusive. Recruitment campaigns that once celebrated diversity, and programs that sought to open doors for women, minorities, and LGBTQ service members, are now being swept aside in favor of a return to what some call traditional values. Critics, however, warn that this approach could have serious consequences. They argue that rolling back these policies risks alienating women, minorities, and anyone who doesn't fit the traditional mold of a soldier. For many, the military had become a place of opportunity and acceptance. Now that sense of belonging is under threat. The backlash has been swift and intense. Protests have erupted, both inside and outside the ranks. Many fear that the move will not only harm recruitment, making it harder to attract talented individuals from all walks of life, but also damage morale among those who already serve. Hegseth, though, is betting that a return to tradition, a focus on discipline, hierarchy, and a singular sense of purpose, will ultimately make the force stronger, more cohesive, and more effective. But in a nation as diverse as the United States, the question remains: can a homogeneous military truly represent and defend a pluralistic society? Or does narrowing the definition of who belongs risk weakening the very institution it seeks to strengthen? The cost of waving goodbye to woke could be far higher than anyone expects. It's not just about policies or paperwork, it's about people, and the future of the force itself. As some pack their bags and walk away, the military faces an uncertain road ahead. The culture shift is seismic, sending shockwaves through every level of the institution. The fallout, social, strategic, and personal, is only just beginning to be felt. The very identity of the military is now up for grabs, as old symbols are dusted off and new ones are quietly set aside. The question of what it means to serve, and who gets to serve, is being rewritten in real time. The stakes couldn't be higher. The decisions made now will echo for generations, shaping not just the military, but the nation it is sworn to protect. In Hegseth's military, fitness isn't just encouraged, it's a moral obligation. Tougher standards, zero tolerance for those who fall short, and a direct link between physical condition and character. The message, if you can't meet the standard, you don't belong. Critics worry this obsession with appearance could push out brilliant minds who don't fit the physical mold. Modern warfare needs brains as much as brawn. Is a six-pack really the mark of a great service member? The answer may shape the future of the force. The policy rollout at Quantico felt more like a campaign rally than a military briefing. With President Trump sharing the stage, the event blurred the line between military service and partisan politics. Senior officers, trained to be nonpartisan, were visibly uncomfortable. The speeches echoed MAGA talking points, turning a professional gathering into a loyalty test. Behind the scenes, some leaders considered resignation rather than enforce the new agenda. The risk eroding public trust in a military seen as a political tool. For many, this was a breaking point. The institution's apolitical tradition was suddenly in jeopardy. Hegseth's new direction raises big questions about who will join and stay in the military. By sidelining diversity and inclusion, the force risks alienating huge pools of talent. Women, minorities, and anyone outside the warrior mold may look elsewhere. Tougher physical standards could push out cyber experts and analysts who don't fit the mold but are vital to modern defense. The result? A potential brain drain and shrinking pool of qualified recruits. The challenge? Build a future-ready force while narrowing the definition of who belongs. The answer will determine whether the military grows stronger or weaker. The stakes for national security are real. The riddle remains unsolved. Hegseth didn't mince words, support the new agenda, or resign. This ultimatum is unprecedented, creating a climate of fear and stifling dissent. Officers are forced to choose between their conscience and their careers. Promotions now hinge on loyalty to the new vision, not just merit or experience. Critics warn this could politicize the officer corps, rewarding yes-men over real leaders. The risk, losing independent thinkers and experienced commanders. The military may become more compliant, but less effective. The long-term damage could be profound. The ultimatum has left the ranks divided and anxious. Perhaps most alarming was what Hegseth didn't address: real-world threats. Ukraine, China, the Middle East. None were discussed. The focus was entirely on internal culture wars, not external dangers. Critics say this obsession with appearance and ideology distracts from urgent strategic needs. Proposals like using American cities for training exercises only fueled concerns about misplaced priorities. The Pentagon's job is to defend the nation, not wage internal battles. The event felt like a missed opportunity to lay out a real defense strategy. The military risks being unprepared for the challenges ahead. Culture matters, but strategy is what wins wars. The absence of vision was impossible to ignore. As the dust settles, the military stands at a crossroads. Hegseth's experiment promises a tougher, more traditional force, but at what cost? Supporters see a return to discipline and purpose. Critics fear a loss of talent, diversity, and strategic focus. The risk of politicization and shrinking recruitment looms large. The choice between tradition and adaptation has been made by leadership. The consequences, good or bad, will play out for years. The men and women in uniform, and the nation they serve, can only wait and watch. The future of the American military has never felt more uncertain. The next chapter is unwritten, and the stakes are enormous.